You're listening to Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry Sanderson on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
800-426-1886. That's 800-426-1886.
Inside the Locker Room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
And good morning and welcome into a cold Monday edition of Inside the Locker Room, 205-342-9904. If you'd like to jump in on the show with us this morning, X accounts at Locker Room 109, at Barry Sanderson, at Wimp Sanderson 1. If you want to email us, that's Wimp and Barry at yahoo.com. Download that app, the Tide 100.9 app. You can send us an app message throughout the show. Also, you can listen to all the shows here on the app. A lot of people like to just use that, even if they're in town. So get that app on your device. They're the Tide 100.9 app, and you can take us with you anywhere you go. Yellowwood makes this 7 o'clock hour possible. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you certainly don't want it. You want to be able to fence the deck to pergola. There's only one choice, and that would be Yellowwood. To find the dealer close to you, go to yellowwood.com, put the zip code in. And always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. All right, a lot happened since we last had a show. That Georgia Tech game, wow, some game there. Alabama basketball did drop the game to Oregon. I don't think it's been reported yet, but Reitzel could have an Achilles problem there. If that happens, he's probably out for the year. So they'll have to have Youngblood maybe come in and take his minutes there, who has not played yet for Alabama. We'll wait for that to be reported. I'm sure it'll come out sometime today what the status of that injury is. Good morning, Chase. Good morning, Dad. How are you guys this morning?
I'm doing okay. Wins, losses, and fights is the name of the game in football. Alabama did just what I thought they would do. They got by the game pretty well. Auburn talked about having touchdowns to win the game, yet they kicked field goals, which is pretty stupid. But that's what they did, and Alabama got by the game as I felt like they could. I lost the blue plate by 2 points, so I lost that. I think the quarterback at South Carolina is better than Barry thinks he is.
Did I say he wasn't good?
I think you questioned him a little bit, but it's okay. Maybe better than I thought he was. He's good. He's darn good. One game remaining, Georgia versus Texas. Texas will win that game. Texas is 3-point favorite. You can't play over 8 overtimes and keep your legs, in my opinion. So I would look for Texas to be the champions of the SEC. That could be right. That could be wrong. That's what this radio show is all about. Who will be? Well, before I get to that, Alabama had good wins over two teams that they beat, Houston and Rutgers in basketball. Oregon, Alabama out threed Oregon 21 points, 7 threes, and still lost the game. So a little bit quite unusual there. Freddie Kitchens is going to be the coach at Alabama plays at 6:15 on Wednesday against North Carolina there. Freddie Kitchens is the new coach for the bowl game. North Carolina gets in a bowl, and Gus Malzahn was hired as the offensive coordinator. They needed to hire a recruiter rather than Gus Malzahn, but that's what they did. Now, my thoughts about who's going to be in the bowl in the 12, and then I'll hush and Barry can do whatever he wants to do. First of all, my opinion is there will be 3 SEC teams in the game in the final 12. Texas, Georgia will be 2 of them, and Tennessee will be the 3rd. My opinion, Alabama will not get in. So that's just my opinion. Clemson still has a shot shot to get in if they win the championship game against SMU. Although South Carolina clocked them pretty good in that fourth quarter. So we'll see. A lot of talk between South Carolina and Alabama. I think Alabama would go ahead of South Carolina, but I don't think they get in. So who will be in the playoffs? I can tell you now, Notre Dame, Ohio State, Boise State, Iowa State, and Arizona State will be in. And so we'll see. It's for darn sure those will be in. So that's pretty much stuff I've written down this morning, trying to talk to this about the show, about this anything else. Barry may want to disagree with what I said, so he can. I'm through.
All right, tomorrow you look at where Miami's ranked. If Miami's ranked 11 or higher, it's over. I think the Alabama's fate lies with the ACC. If Miami's ranked below Alabama, you got a chance. Then you need SMU to knock off Clemson. The question would be, if Clemson beat SMU, would SMU still stay in, or would they fall out? They are projected by ESPN to be, SMU's projected to be ranked number 8. So I don't see how they would fall from 8 to out if they lost, depending on how they lose. But if Miami's ranked ahead of Alabama and they're not playing, then I don't see a path for them to get in. Somebody maybe can tell me one, because I think you're right. Obviously, Georgia, Texas, and Tennessee are locks to be in. Obviously, Oregon's a lock, but Oregon's a lock. Penn State's a lock. Notre Dame's a lock. Ohio State's a lock. We said Tennessee. So Indiana's a lock, and then either the Boise State, that non-power 4 or whatever, they're going to get in. Yes, so it literally leaves one spot. So if Miami's ranked ahead, then you just do decide what bowl you
We have 2 guests coming on today who have picked Alabama to be in because of the money that the league will get, and because of TV, people are wanting to watch them. Both of our guests, Barry was gone. One of the guests was here last week, but both of them have picked Alabama to be in. If they come close, I don't agree to it. I think the 3 SEC teams will be the teams that'll get in.
I think Alabama will be ahead of Ole Miss and South Carolina.
Oh, sure they will. Yeah.
But Miami's going to be your problem. Although Miami, their resume is not great. They just lost that last game. I don't know if they have a top 25 win. But they are 10-2. So we'll see where they are ranked tomorrow. That would be a big key there. All right, let's get right to the Yellowwood hotline. Bring Super Joe in. Morning, Super Joe.
What's going on? How you feeling, man?
Good. How you, bud?
Ain't no complaint with me. I'll tell you what, though. I said, shoot, what's that dude named, that linebacker, DeMarcus Riddick, was talking about. He was talking down on the Alabama players. I said, well, I think he better remember this one song from 1995 called "Practice What You Preach," because they're not going to lose Alabama. Why he there? Well, you know what? It's hard to say what ain't going to happen, because especially when Alabama playing with a chip on the shoulder. So the only thing is, it's just like you just upset a megalodon shark when you went to the ocean and ran your mouth. So and along with a cut on your hand, and you let the blood spread the water. Big mistake. But right now, I still believe we're going to get into the playoffs. I still believe we're going to be the best. We're going to be with a three lost team that's going to get in the playoffs. And I don't know how far we're going to go. But I tell you what, I believe we could pull an upset or 2. That's my theory and opinion on that. And I'll say like this, one thing about this with Kalen DeBoer, players, they're starting to believe in him real strongly. And I'll say like this, he's going to have a whole lot better team next year. And I'm going to believe like this. I believe I can start laying my money down for the SEC championship next year to get ready to try to go.
I don't know how you could say any team's going to be better or worse next year with this portal. This portal, I think, is going to be crazy. So we'll see. We'll see who's back on the team. Not just Alabama, all the teams. And Auburn right now, they're going to get a jump. All their focused on now is recruiting. That's it. They got no practices, no bowls, no nothing, Super Joe. So retaining their players and signing their class and then getting in the portal so they have time to do those things. We'll see what happens. Thank you, Super Joe. All right, we got to get to this break. 2-minute truck. They're at 1330 Martin Road East. That's where you go pick up your boxes, your packing supplies, whatever you need to make this a smooth move. It's local, out of town, out of state, no problem. Let the professionals handle it. Give them a call today, 205-247-5050. 2 men in a truck, movers who care.
Here's what's trending on the Tuscaloosa thread.
Good Monday morning. It is Cyber Monday, and many West Alabama residents will be buying online today. But local merchants are urging you to keep your Christmas money local. Estimates are for every $100 spent locally, 68 of those dollars are recirculated in the local community. If you purchase online, little to none of that money comes back into the local economy. Click TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage throughout the day. It's free. Todd Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Found some trouble in Cottondale. Watch out for an accident on 2059 eastbound at Buttermilk Road. Now, everything is on the right shoulder, but it's still causing some pretty slow traffic. And I'm also seeing some heavies on University Boulevard on the westbound lanes to Skyland Boulevard. Watch out for those.
Learning projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark great learning experiences in your classrooms today? Join at thinkitup.org.
Road tripping, business travel, or bringing your car in for repairs. All great reasons to rent a Toyota at Tuscaloosa Toyota. You can rent the latest Toyota models for a day, a week, or a weekend. Every Toyota rental car comes with 24 hours roadside assistance.
Welcome to Cricket Nation. Smile, you're on Cricket.
Cricket 5G is not available everywhere. Must open a new line on the $60 unlimited plan. First month service charge and tax due at sale. Fees, terms, and other restrictions apply. See cricketwireless.com for details.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. Pressure treated pine from Great Southern Wood. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. All right, get to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Philip in. Good morning, Philip.
Morning.
Good morning, guys. Hope y'all had a great Thanksgiving.
We did. How about you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Good. Alabama. You're right there. I agree with you. And Coach Sanderson. They're gonna pay for their sins, and losing to Oklahoma late in the year and nothing to play for Saturday is going to be their downfall.
Yeah, I don't see any scenario. If Miami's ranked ahead of them, I don't see a path to the playoff. Do you, Philip?
I don't right now. A lot of crazy stuff will probably have to happen.
But what could even happen? When people say crazy stuff, there's not enough games for crazy things to happen because, the two teams in the Big Ten are going. The two teams in the SEC are going. Only one out of the Big 12 is going anyway. So I don't know what crazy could happen that could change anything.
Alabama's got to be ranked over Miami. The SMU's got to beat Clemson, and Boise State's got to beat UNLV. Probably that's the three things that's got to happen.
Yes, if Miami's ahead of Alabama, then I don't know that any of that other stuff even matters. Because if Clemson wins, then Clemson, SMU, and Miami are going. I would assume.
We're talking about trying to get the one spot. I mean, there's one spot available, and it's just like I say, that's the only way I can put it. You pay for your sins at some point.
Yeah. So the question is, you'll know next Sunday, and then I don't even know what bowls are out there to even go to, Dad. So how excited, how difficult is it going to be to get these guys geared up to practice for a bowl?
Well, it's not going to be the excitement regardless. I always kid about the Birmingham Bowl. I'm kidding about that particularly, but bowl game, when you think that you're going to be somewhere high and you don't get there, your fans, even though you are a football school, as y'all want to call it,
I don't know, Philip. I just don't. I don't see the path. If Miami's below Alabama tomorrow, then you got a shot. All you got to do is pull for SMU to knock off Clemson, and I think you're in if that happens. But if Miami's ahead, I think it's, unless I'm missing something here, I think it makes
I don't think SMU beat Clemson.
I'm sorry. What'd you say?
Your guest last week was good too. Max Howell summed it up pretty well, I thought. He said, if you're Alabama and you're favored by 11, you better win by 21. We didn't. And, Alabama won in fairly solid style against Auburn, but it wasn't a blowout. I think Alabama should have had about 52 points, but should have, could have, and would have is two different things.
Yeah.
You think SMU can beat Clemson? I don't.
I don't think they'll beat Clemson. I don't think they'll beat.
All right. So then is SMU in if they lose?
No.
No.
Well, a lot of people have them ranked 8 in the poll tomorrow. So they're going to say they're going to fall from. I think it tells me, and people are going to disagree about this, I think 12's too many. I think you only need 8. You talk about going to 16 now. So Alabama would get in if it was 16, but it seems pretty watered down right now. We're talking about Alabama being pretty mediocre and sliding in at 12. But when you go to 16, I know it makes for an easier bracket, but they've got to fix it to where you just take the top 12 teams in, and then you seed it from there. The way they have it right now, I don't know who came up with this, but they don't know anything about college athletics, the way they got this seeding process. So,
right. Well, where's Arizona State ranked? What are they in the rankings?
Well, the projection is that they'll be ranked 15 tomorrow. But
right.
And then Iowa State 16. So the winner of that game's going to get in. Now they may be the 12 seed. When it's all said and done, and Boise may end up being the 4. So,
and another thing, man, you're so correct too, because you can't even sit here and have conjecture about what kind of a team Alabama's going to have next year. It's going to be such turnover after the bowl games announced Sunday night that you're going to have these guys saying, "I'm going home. I'm going to play church league basketball this December, and I'm going to pour it."
Yeah, it's going to be a mess. So. Anyway, Philip, we always appreciate it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. All right, buddy.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you. All right, back to the Yellowwood hotline. Get Tony in. Oh, we lost Tony. Maybe that's Tony on the other line. Is that Tony there on line 2? All right. Yeah, all right. I'm sorry. We lost him. All right. Hey, Tony.
Hey, Tony.
Hey, guys. Y'all doing okay?
Yeah. How are you?
Good. I agree, Barry. Does the AP in the coaches poll, where is Miami ranked as we sit today? Is it 14?
I'm pulling that up right now. In the AP, Miami is 14. Yeah, Alabama is 11. And then in the coaches, Miami is 14 and Alabama is 11 in both polls. So maybe committee will follow.
I do think that's where they'll be. I think, Barry, to not have even played a team in the top 25 or to have beaten a team in the top 25, I don't see how you can put them in even over a 3-loss Alabama. Or I would even say that if Alabama had one more loss in South Carolina. South Carolina beat them, as coach would say, naked and hide their clothes.
Yeah.
And I actually think the SEC may get 4 in. I think you could add Alabama to Tennessee and or South Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and Texas. I think
it's going to stop there.
Yeah, well, if you're right, if Miami's below Alabama and SMU beats Clemson, then I think Bama gets in.
All right, let me ask y'all this: is it already a thing that if the winner of a conference championship game automatically goes?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So who plays Arizona State?
Iowa State.
Okay. Are they 3 2-loss teams, or what are we talking about there? I don't even know their record.
Let's see here. Arizona State's 10-2. Iowa State, they're both 10-2.
Okay. So we're going to have depending on who wins that.
They're going to get in, but That's going to be the only Big 12 team in, whoever wins that game. And they'll probably end up being the 12 seed, and Boise will be the 4 because they're going to be ranked higher, than those guys. So
yeah. So the ACC is looking like they're going to get one in if Miami's left out.
They're going to get 1 or 3. They could get if Miami's ranked ahead of Alabama and Clemson knocks off SMU. I'm not 100% sure SMU would fall out. It'll be Clemson. Could be Clemson, Miami. They're going to get one or 3.
I think SMU falls out. Clemson beats.
They could.
I do too. I think they fall out, especially if Clemson beats them pretty good. And that's what people's not talking about.
SMU in the coaches poll, and I don't know if that matters, is ranked 7. In the AP, they're 8. So that's a long fall.
So let me ask y'all this: if Georgia is to go in, and let's say they get beat 30-7, we're sure Georgia's still getting in.
For sure.
Yeah, they're not going to penalize them for making the.
Eight overtimes and get beat. No.
Yes, they're in. They're in. Now, if they would have lost to Georgia Tech and then lost to Texas, they would not have gotten in. But
I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, Coach, let me ask you this: how many teams do you think gets in from the Big Ten?
Well, I forget who's in there now. Oregon, Ohio State, Indiana.
Penn State. So they're getting 4.
Yeah, they're getting 4. They're already locked for 4.
I think SEC's going to get 4 guys. That's my opinion. I could be wrong.
Well, who's the 4?
And
Alabama?
I think it's Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Tennessee.
You're looking through Alabama.
Coach, the only reason why I would see them putting Miami in is because there's no team in the state of Florida to be representing this playoffs. And that's a big demographic for them, in my opinion. I do think it comes down to what a lot of people say.
Miami is ranked ahead of Alabama and Amara in the
It's over.
It's over. And they love Cam Ward. Love him.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we shall see. What do y'all think of the basketball team? Do y'all think it's just a loss that was it due to dead legs or guys' steers look bad?
Well, dead legs. Defensively, they turned it over a lot.
Yeah, what was it? 20 turnovers?
I don't know.
That's a lot.
They never turn it over as fast as they could turn it over for a while. Alabama's got a good team. They cleaned the defense up. Keep saying that, and they can stop the turnovers. They just throw the pass where the pass is not there. They're good. Win a national championship with the kid. You got a problem there a little bit, I think, with the guard coming from Auburn over there, thinking he's going to be a starter. He may be now. It's been a little bit of a problem, I think.
Well, let's hope that we can get it together and play North Carolina. Obviously, North Carolina's beatable. I don't know how beatable they are at their plays.
They're beatable.
They're beatable, but it'll be tough to go over there and win.
Yep. All right. Before I go, what do y'all think of Duke and Auburn?
I think with Auburn traveling back from Maui, Cameron, I look for Duke to win that game.
I look for Duke to win it.
Okay.
So,
all right, gentlemen. Well, y'all have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Tony. All right, we'll take the break here. We'll get back. We'll get Max Howell in. You listen to Tide 100.9, 1230 AM, WTBC is the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Found some trouble in Cottondale. Watch out for an accident on 2059 eastbound at Buttermilk Road. Now, everything is on the right shoulder, but it's still causing some pretty slow traffic. And I'm also seeing some heavies on University Boulevard on the westbound lanes to Skyland Boulevard. Watch out for those.
You got with a damp crawl space or a crack in your foundation. They even do pest control and lawn care. Full service Alabama Professional Services at alabamaprofessional.com.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today, the high 49. Another freeze tonight, clear with the low at 26. Tomorrow, sunny and cold, the high 44. Then for Wednesday, increasingly cloudy, a chance of light rain Wednesday night, the high Wednesday at 53. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 30 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Mr. SEC Tournament Wimp Sanderson gives you his excellent analysis every weekday on Inside the Locker Room, right here on Tide 100.9.
pressure treated pine from Great Southern. If it doesn't have the yellow tag on it, you don't want it. Jeff, 45 from Hayneville. Jeff, we understand. He says Clemson Miami's schedule was trash. They both not deserving for a playoff spot. Well, Jeff, you got to understand the system. Clemson in the ACC championship game. If they win, regardless of how bad their schedule was, they're in because of the ACC champion. Nobody's arguing whether their schedule was trash or not. Miami, by losing to Syracuse, put their fate in the committee's hands. So that's on them. All right, back to the Yellowwood Hotline. He's a radio personality throughout the Southeast, former assistant at Ole Miss, Florida State, joins us every Monday. Max Howell. Good morning, Max. How are you?
Hey, Max. Doing great, guys. How you? If y'all might realign the numbers for tomorrow night.
Yeah,
so
if Miami is ranked ahead of Alabama in the poll tomorrow, you can put the chairs on the church bus. It's over. Max, for Alabama.
I'm going to tell you now, you wait and see. The win that Alabama had over South, it's going to boil down to Alabama and South Carolina for that last spot.
There's no room if Miami's ranked ahead of them. There's no room for Alabama.
I'm telling you, I'm reading. I heard the committee chairman say last night that there will be some evaluations taken that doesn't necessarily go by the agenda. Let's put it that way.
Well, I don't.
Wait and see.
If they're ranked ahead and nobody's playing, the problem everybody has is the SEC championships doing nothing for the playoff. Both those teams are making it. Same with Same with the Big Ten. The Big 12 doesn't matter because only one's going, so the winner's going. So there is no disarray to happen. Other than they're
going to measure strength of schedule though. Don't be surprised if you don't get a 3-loss team over a 2-loss team.
Well, that could happen if Miami's below Alabama. Then I think if SMU knocks off Clemson, I think Alabama gets in. I don't think there's even a debate between South Carolina and Alabama. I think Alabama's going over them just based on their wins. So
I think that'll happen too. Yeah, but anyway, that's why they play the game, and that's why we have ESPN gets 100 million people watching on Tuesday night.
Well, does that tell you, Max? We're trying to put some mediocre teams in here. And they're talking about going to 16. Or do they need to go the other direction and go to 8? They won't because of the money, though, will they?
Right. No, they won't. It'll go. I think it's got a great chance. I don't know about next year, but in the next 3 or 4 years, I think it'll demand, much like basketball did. When they had 64 teams and it went to the playoff, the play-in situation. I think we're going to probably get something very similar to that with football.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything. I think your feelings are that because of the interest in Alabama football that people are looking at the crowd. You would be amazed at the people that put on the internet how much they feel like, oh yeah, you're going to put Alabama in regardless. There are a lot of people that don't like Alabama.
I know that
because of the Florida State thing.
That's right.
Go ahead.
But, you look at it, Coach, on that Florida State thing. Look what Georgia did to Florida State.
Close. Yeah, they were right. They were correct.
I know they were right.
Yeah.
and I was going through Birmingham and listening to you on Friday when you were on jobs.
Yeah.
And I know that's a little different approach you have to take. But the fact is Alabama, and I think I gave you some numbers last week, and I did my homework on that. But they estimated 30 million people watch Alabama play when they're on national TV, and across the country. And that's not all Alabama.
If that's a difference, then okay. But I'm not sure.
Yeah, that was the numbers that were given why they got in last year. Of course, it proved out. Obviously when Georgia played them in the bowl game,
they were correct,
and they were undefeated. So. Anyway, I think the committee's got everybody right where they're talking about it. Everybody in the country's talking about it right now, and they got the preferences. That means that many more people's going to tune in, and that's where the money comes from. Is how many eyes are going to watch those playoffs?
Yeah, I think I already know your answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How good of a coach is Hugh Freeze?
Well, you might be asking the wrong guy.
I understand. I'm asking you. So.
I watched closely when he was at Ole Miss, and I know how he got the record he got. I know how he got the players there and all. But that's not uncommon. The fact is I think sometimes his success, where he's had some success, kind of overshadows what he has to do on the field. I don't know how good as far as handing out responsibilities to different coaches and even hiring different coaches. I mean, they had Chip Lindsey there running his offense last year. They fired Chip at Troy 2 years before. The best record I think most teams ever won in 3 years at Troy as a head coach is 5 games. And everybody else has been there before and after's always won 10 or 11. So, I mean, I think sometimes that goes with the job. And I know you can't, it's a different job. Going from a place like Troy to Florida State, for me, for example, is like daylight and dark. And a lot of people don't realize that. And I know he was at Liberty and kind of rehabbed his career after the mess he got into at Ole Miss. But how good he is on the field, I don't think necessarily it's how good at a ball game he is, Barry. I think it's leading up to it. What do they do during the week?
Yeah.
And I think if there's a downfall, that's where it is.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't think I think Auburn came into that game Saturday with high expectations. Auburn, as the game got longer toward the end, I don't think Auburn really believed they could win in Tuscaloosa. That's just a sense I had. I was watching the game and listening to it, but it just looked different to me toward the end of the ball game than it did, in the first half.
Yeah, that.
The transfer portal is going to be a double mess.
Yep.
Is this not going to be something that nobody's happy with anybody? What's your feelings on this? It's going to be what I think it is.
I think it's still in the experimental stages, and I think the good coaches are going to try to find the players, and of course, they are recruiting off of that already. They got the coaches that don't go on the field every day, in a room with a computer looking at tapes on every position that they got to have. So I think it's going until they get some the number of times one can transfer. I think's got to come about. And I think the timing of the transfer itself is going to understand this year. January 5th is maybe the last day they can cut. They can get in the portal and be picked up, and they only will allow them one time. I think that's the rule change coming up. I think they have to have that. You can't have somebody, transferring every time that the door's open. You jump in just because you can't. You didn't play where you were, and I think it's got to have some restrictions. And I think the NIL stuff mixed with the transfer is, that's a whole different ball game. It's merging closer and closer to what the NFL is, and I think that's really I think we're seeing some of that results on the field on Saturdays now. Those games that it should have been when the point spread was 14 or 18, the point spread ends up the team favored might win by a touchdown or less. I think we're seeing all those movements coming in the game on Saturday as a result of what's happening either with transfer or NIL money.
Well, you look at, you're going to have guys leaving that they didn't like their roles. I mean, there's maybe some Alabama running backs. We thought this was going to be the best running back group in the SEC, and Milrose run the ball all year. So those guys may say, man, I'm good. I'm going somewhere where they're going to utilize me. Now, the coach is going to say, well, we got a quarterback next year. We're going to have to hand the ball off more. So then you got guys that were really, really good, and they want to see how much they're worth. So they're going to get in there to find out how much we're worth. And then there's going to be guys that weren't very good, and the coaches are going to bring them in and say, they're going to look at it and say, we can get so-and-so out of the portal better than him. Get him in here. He's got to go. So there'll be a lot of different players walking out that door, Max, for different reasons. Money, some weren't used properly, and some maybe they feel like they're not good enough and they're going to be told to leave. Correct?
Yeah, absolutely right. And I think it's kind of experimental on both sides right now. Some kids just don't make the adjustment where they are. They move on. I mean, the kid that was at Ole Miss, a running back, that went to Ohio State, that was all about the money. Ole Miss could only pay him, I think, $1.5 million or whatever, and Ohio State paid him $3 or $4 million to come up there. So I'm just saying those are the things that happen, but those are the rules. And the coaches there, if you're going to win, you're going to have to learn to adjust to the rules. I know we start talking about that. You look at Dabo at Clemson. He says they hadn't taken anybody out of the portal. They aren't going to. Well, fortunately, up to now, he's still been able to keep his head above water and win. But how much longer can he do that?
Yeah, let's turn our attention to these championship games. I guess does the SEC and the Big Ten, I mean, would you want the bye? So I guess in order to get the bye, but all four of those teams are in the playoffs, so there's not a ton of pressure. If you don't win it, then you're going to get a home game there. If you win it, you're going to get a bye. So how exciting are these championship games going to be, Max?
Well, it's going to depend on the coaching staff, Barry, how they handle it with their kids, how they handle open dates during the year. What about the injury factor? All the things that we talk about week by week is going to come to a head in here. I think we're really going to find out a lot more about the coaching ability, how they handle the kids and how they handle practice and what they do, particularly on bye week now. I mean, you can't let them go home and stay 3 or 4 days. I mean, you better have them in a room. If you don't want to take them on the field, you better have them in a room looking at tapes every day. And every coach is going to handle it differently. And I think really this is what, for the first time, I mean, look at Ohio State. That's the one that I saw it. I saw Dave's record thrown up on the screen the other day, and they on him big time for losing to Michigan again. But he's, other than Michigan, he's 45-1 over the last 3 years, and he's 1-4 against Michigan. See, but that's a big rivalry, just like Alabama and Auburn. Now I don't know how I don't know that they threatened the coach to fire him just because he couldn't win. If he had that kind of record, he was getting to the playoffs every time. But that's an example. That's what's happening right now. How different coaches handle, preparation for that week or for that ball game. How you gonna motivate them? What is the key? And I do think a lot of times now with the portal like it is, like we take Alabama and Auburn, you don't have an all roster from most of the Alabama kids on either team anymore. And I sometimes I wonder when it really gets down to it, the last quarter, how much that game really means to those players that are from Texas or from California or wherever else is not born and raised in the state. I think that's just an emotional thing that the coaches have to deal with. But I think I don't think there's any doubt, guys. We've seen the whole game change right before our eyes, and it's the portal, and it's the money floating around out there. It's the individual coaching, how they handle those. But guess what? The ratings are higher than they've ever been on national television for college football right now. So we can't say that everything they've done in the game is bad, because after all, it is already. It always has been measured about the money and how much money the individual schools are going to make.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else I can think of. It's go ahead, Barry. I can't think of anything.
Well, Max, this week alone, the signing date is coming. Right. The portal opens up on Monday, and teams are trying to get ready for hopefully bowl games and a playoff. Yep. How do you manage all that? I mean, I don't even know. I guess you have a general manager now that handles the recruiting part, but those guys aren't out watching these players. I guess they're watching a ton of film. That's a lot coming at these coaches all at the same time, and the moves that they make will have a humongous impact on what kind of team they're going to have next season. Is that all too much at once that's going on?
Barry, you ever notice how much they're paying those guys now?
Yeah.
Well, I'll let you decide. No, it's not too much. You agree to take that job for that X dollar? And I don't remember seeing any what I call a novice that gets to the top in the major college. I mean, they've come through the ranks. They've been assistant coaches. They've been GAs. They've understood the system. Understand that when they apply for the job, they're going to make $5, $6, $10 million or whatever the job pays. And that goes with it. And maybe these last 2 or 3 weeks, you don't get but 2 or 3 hours sleep a night. So what? I mean, you sign on for that. So, I've been there, done that at 2 major levels, and fortunate enough on staffs that won championships. But that just goes with it. You don't ever even question that anymore.
Yeah, well, it just seems like a lot now all at once with NIL portal. Portal used to not be like that, so they didn't have to deal with that. But now it's all right there, and you got to make decisions.
Yeah, another thing they don't have to deal with. If you ever notice, anybody ever talk about academics and who's eligible and who's not?
No,
they don't have to deal with that anymore.
All right, so if you have a guy come in, Max, and you're in the playoff, but he had a kind of a minor role. And he comes in and says, Coach, I mean, like, I've got to put my name in the portal. I don't, we had a minor role here, but I want to stay and play in the playoff. What do you do?
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, I tell him, that's great. We want you to stay. You go, let's get through the ball game, and we'll sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think, and here's another thing I believe that's going to have to happen, is on these one-year contracts, that contract's got to read to the end of the season, not a date, not like December 31st. Because these kids that are opting out to not go, that's got to be taken out of the contract some way. If they sign up for the team and are being paid, they got to stay till the season's over, whether you lose or go all the way to the championship game. This stuff about just because they aren't playing, they go opt out, get rid of the NFL, that is garbage. I mean, the lawyers that handle these kids, they're the ones that's responsible for that. But the SEC can modify that contract. I'm sure NCAA would approve it. Just to say, if you sign a contract, you're obligated to stay on this team to the end of the season. Period. Regardless of what date that is.
All right, Georgia, Texas. Georgia won at Texas by 15. Now Texas is a 2.5-point favorite. Dad says Georgia may have dead legs, but that game was on Friday, so they got an extra day to kind of get their legs back under them.
Dead legs.
Just your thoughts about Georgia, Texas. Obviously, both are in the playoff, but who wins this game?
Well, Georgia went to 8 overtimes to get there last weekend. So, I like Georgia at home. I think they'll be more physical. I think Kirby will have to, he's got to work hard to get them up and play hard. They know they're going to have to play every snap. Texas, Sarkisian's done a really good job. Well, I'll be interested if they try to rotate quarterbacks. They stuck Arch Manning in there the other day for one play. What did he do? Ran 18 yards for a touchdown. So I'm saying, I think Georgia playing in Atlanta, in my opinion, will mean more to Georgia than probably does to Texas right now. That's just an outside observation.
Yeah.
And I can't see. I think Kirby question one. I saw one interview about the fan base being sure that they're there and get up and do what they've done. It won't be exactly like it is in Athens, but it'll be close. And he's done very well when they played it there. So I like Georgia to win the football game. I think it'd be pretty close, but I think it'll be more than 1.5 or 2 points. That's a pick-up game. That's what the guys in Vegas did. They just laid it out there to draw the crowd.
Yeah.
So, but I like Georgia. I like Georgia probably to touchdown, maybe even more.
Is this question's for both of you guys? Is the North Carolina job better than the Georgia Tech job? If it is, I would go after that coach at Georgia Tech if I were North Carolina. And I guess I'd go after him anyway. I would think my job is better.
Oh, he's really,
than Georgia
really
Tech. I think this guy's really good, Max.
He is good.
Is that job, is North Carolina job better than the Georgia Tech job? And would that be a somebody they would consider?
I think basically, and having lived in Atlanta and having done a lot of pregame stuff for Georgia Tech while I was there, Georgia Tech's a different football team, guys, and a different academic university than it used to be. 14,000, 15,000, 70% of the student body is a foreign student body. They're not even, they were sent over here from all other countries. It's just a different atmosphere. When you go to a Georgia Tech ball game, the majority of the fans there are people that followed Tech 20, 30 years ago, not the current young kids. I think North Carolina is more traditional than what Georgia Tech is. Now, the guy's done a great job. Don't get me wrong. He's coached well this past year. I'll be interested to see, Joe Solomon's another guy that's name popped up. He's the guy that was at Troy, now he's at Tulane. He took Tulane right, I think 9 or 10 wins this year. And I saw his name pop up yesterday. So I think the guy at Tech has had more experience at a higher level than.
Obviously Tech is his alma mater, so that might be pull that in. But I don't know. I think when you're hot, you got to go. Dad, which job's better?
North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
North Carolina has a tradition, has a little bit of a basketball touch, but it's
right.
better. It's more naturally thought of.
Absolutely.
Every time you think of Georgia Tech, you think of Georgia, and you don't need to. When you think of North Carolina, you don't think of North Carolina State.
Very true.
I think North Carolina's better.
Yeah, all I'd have to do is look at that traffic in Atlanta, and I'd say, take me to Chapel Hill. That traffic. And it's all hours of the day, Max. You'd think, I'm going to go early. It ain't going to be no traffic. No, it's traffic every day. I know.
Barry, I lived there 11 years.
Terrible.
You got to tell me.
Terrible.
I did radio over there for 11 years. I know. I know how it is. But I tell you, it's a very diverse population, but it's a really good football town.
Yeah.
I know the Falcons take up a lot of the time with any NFL team would, but there's a lot of good college football fans. There's five Fortune 500 companies there, guys, in Atlanta. And they rotate those people all over the country about 2-year stays. I mean, you get good college football fans from all over the country come to Atlanta now. I mean, it's really a good. It's a good radio town.
The location of Tech's not great down there in downtown.
Yep.
All right, so probably today there'll be 2 or 3 jobs open. We'll say, I didn't know that was going to open. What's it going to be? Kentucky, Arkansas? Either one of those going to open?
I think the Arkansas might not. He may not have an opportunity. They may tell him. I think Kentucky's going to be up to him. I mean, I think Stoops he's done enough since he's been there. I was amazed when I started digging into that one, how much they're paying him. I mean, you know what? He's in that $11 to $12 million a year range, and I didn't realize that. So I think that he's tagged very close to the Kroger company. That's where all the money is coming to the university. A lot of it is. So that's going to be his choice, though, I think, on him. With Coach Pittman at Arkansas, had they won that last game against Missouri, I think maybe he'd had a good chance to stay. But I think he's having hip surgery today or tomorrow. He's had a really bad health situation, so he may be ready to give it up anyway. So I think 2 openings for sure is going to be there, and that people are going to have to take a look at where these guys are going to come from. Do they go down to somewhere like Tulane and pull Solomon up, or do they look around the league and try to get maybe a top assistant somewhere? I think the day of the assistant, though, moving in at that level is about over. I think the demand, because of the popularity, the money that's involved now, they got to go get somebody that's probably a proven coach, even if it might be at a lower level.
Yeah. All right, Dad, anything else from Max before we let him get out?
I'm fine.
Great stuff, Max. We'll see what happens. A lot of people hoping you're right, that Alabama's ahead of Miami and SMU knocks off Clemson. Somehow they back into the playoff. But I don't think even the Alabama fans are thinking they deserve it. They might back into it and get it, but we'll see what happens. That's why they got this thing set up. Tomorrow there'll be all eyes on the committee to see where it all shakes out.
I don't think there's any doubt. That's some of those committee members probably don't want to be exposed. They just want to stay in the dark, and they're going to vote their conscience. So
you think people people are texting those guys right now, stating their case?
If they get to them, they are. I can promise you.
Lane Kiffin went to Twitter and put his out there.
Well, I mean, they ought to charge Lane as much as he's on Twitter. They ought to give him an account and charge him a fee. That guy, that's his emotional release. Yeah. Is what it is. Yeah. I'm telling you guys. No anyway,
thank you, Max.
Always my pleasure. Yeah, always my pleasure. And I can't wait to Tuesday nights every week.
We'll talk about it next week.
Soon,
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll take this top of the hour break. Up at the phone line 205-342-9904. Also, Doug Bell will join us. I looked at Doug's picks. Pretty good. He had a pretty good week this week as well. We want to thank Yellowwood, pressure-treated pine from Great Southern. They made this 7 o'clock hour possible. Always remember, guys, if it doesn't have that yellow tag on it, then you certainly don't want it. You listen to Tide 100.9 at 12:30 a.m. WTBC is the home of Alabama sports.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we'll do the Daniel Moore good moments of the game. Alabama and Auburn. Hopefully we're recapping a victory for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll start at 2 p.m. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Salih. And we'll talk to Martin Houston right here on The Game, Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Still looking at this accident on 2059 on the eastbound lanes at Buttermilk Road. Yes, it's on the right shoulder, but you do still have some main lane looky-loos. And definitely starting to get that crunch on 69 southbound lanes onto McFarland Boulevard. Now you got a long red line taking you back to Union Chapel Road as your Monday back to work starts to thicken up. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Tammy Thomas.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Steve DeSager.
Sunday night in the snow, the Buffalo Bills won their 7th straight game, 35-10 over San Francisco. 49ers star running back Christian McCaffrey limped off in the first half with a PCL ligament knee injury. It could be season-ending. Philadelphia won its 8th straight game, 24-19 at Baltimore. Tampa Bay in overtime was a winner at Carolina, 26-23. And the Rams, down at halftime 6-0, wound up winning at New Orleans 21-14. Among the earlier games, Pittsburgh was a 44-38 winner at Cincinnati. Russell Wilson, 414 yards passing and 3 scores. In the NBA, Cleveland ended Boston's 7-game winning streak, 115-111. Memphis won its 6th in a row. Orlando won its 6th straight.
Exciting than ever. It's time for the sports glory you deserve without breaking a sweat. The Sportsbook at Golden Moon Casino. Play the game. Must be 21.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today, the high 49. Another freeze tonight, clear with the low at 26. Tomorrow, sunny and cold, the high 44. Then for Wednesday, increasingly cloudy, a chance of light rain Wednesday night, the high Wednesday at 53. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 36 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
Inside the locker room with former Crimson Tide basketball coach Wimp Sanderson and his son, former SEC and ACC assistant basketball coach Barry Sanderson. It's time to take you inside the locker room on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to the second hour of Inside the Locker Room. Phone lines are open. 205-342-9904. A lot of talk about the committee and what will happen. The playoff predictor has Alabama a higher percentage than Miami. That tells me they think that Alabama will be ranked ahead of Miami. Miami does not have a top 25 win, so that might – they've lost 2 of the last 3, so that might come back and bite them. So we'll see what happens. Allstate Insurance agent Andrew Knifer. Andrew is my agent. Let him become yours. He's out at 4705 McFarland Boulevard, Suite 3 over in Northport. Give Andrew and his staff a call today. 205-722-9201. Allstate Insurance and Andrew Knifer. All right, Dad, there's I think these head coaches got a little bit of a problem. Now, the ones who's doesn't have a game this weekend, recruiting is hot and heavy right now. I think the signing date is this week, right, Chase? There's some coaches, Dad, that want to make a change. They want to let a couple of these guys go. Now, the problem is some of these guys that they want to let go may be tied to some of the recruits. So do you wait, if you're the head coach, until the names are on the dotted line and then let your staff know whether they're back or not? Or do you let the staff go now? What do you do about this? Recruiting's got to be the most important. You don't want to lose recruits if you fire a guy right now. But these coaches kind of want to know. I think these head coaches got some tough decisions to make across the SEC that aren't playing this weekend.
You don't tell your staff.
You don't tell them.
No.
Okay.
So especially if your general manager tells you, you go to your general manager and you say, who's tied to who in our recruiting process? And he tells you, and you don't have to say any more than that. You just you know who's tied to who. And is so-and-so not tied to anybody? No, he's not tied to so. So I make a little bit better decision there once I find out to the general manager or the guy who's supposed to be in charge of overall recruiting. Now, see what happens. Florida State fired their OC, and they fired the defenses coordinator, and they fired somebody else. They fired them all. He kept his job. The head coach did, but they're going out of there like flies and trying to get other jobs. And of course, they already a lot of them behind the scenes already realize that they're 88 out the gate, and so we'll just see. I would like to know, and you probably know a lot more about it than I do, how and where we have these bowls. What bowls, for example, are available that are interesting bowls that would be decent bowls for Alabama to go to if they didn't make it, or South Carolina go. Where are the bowls? Where do they lay, Barry? Do you know?
Well, I'm pulling up so college football bowl projections. So here's some projections of what they think. Obviously, they're projecting. Let's see when this thing was written. This is on, let's see, December. That's today. So this is college football projected by USA Today. Eric Smith. Now he thinks, he thinks Alabama's in, and he has Alabama traveling to Notre Dame in the campus. But the Fiesta Bowl will be one of the semifinals. The Sugar Bowl, not semifinal, will be one of the quarterfinals. Sugar, Rose, and Peach. So that takes care of those. The Orange Bowl and the Cotton Bowl are the semifinal games, and the college football title game. So the bowls that are open, they got the Bahama Bowl, the Duke's Mayo Bowl. It's ACC versus Big Ten. First Responder Bowl, Big 12 versus an at-large, as West Virginia taking on North Carolina. The Gator Bowl, ACC versus SEC. Louisville versus Missouri. The Texas Bowl. These are projections.
Louisville versus Missouri is going to be the Gator Bowl?
No, well, that's what they're projecting. Citrus Bowl, Illinois, and South Carolina. That's December 31st. The Sun Bowl, Syracuse and Washington. The Real Quest Bowl, Iowa will take on Ole Miss. The Music City Bowl, that's up in Nashville. Michigan versus LSU.
Well, you can bet your sweet dookie, and you'll know this, that whoever gets South Carolina will get a good following because of beating Clemson.
Yeah, so South Carolina, obviously, Texas A&M and Southern Cal will be in the Las Vegas Bowl. Liberty Bowl, Kansas State, Oklahoma. There's Birmingham Bowl.
Yeah.
Here you go. They're projecting Georgia Tech versus Florida. That'd be a great game. That'd be a good game. That'd be two good teams.
Yeah.
If they could pull that off.
I tell you what, Billy Napier did a good job. He jumped his guys about that planting that thing in there, and he said he was going to discipline the ones that did. He's the only coach of all the coaches who really did a good job, I felt like after the game, I say only, it's the only one I heard, that really did a good job of knocking his players for what they did. You need to play on the field, not out there doing that.
I didn't like Ryan Day's remark about Ohio State. You know, talk about Ryan Day was like, well, you know, I mean, we got a lot of guys who got a lot of pride, and they're trying to disrespect us. But man, hush, play in the game. They won't put the flag on your field. You got your butt beat, and that's like the Michigan player said. Hey, we had 60 minutes to fight. Now they want to fight after the game. They should be. I don't have a problem with them taking the flag to the midfield. Do you?
No. And not after that. And the other thing, I didn't see all of it, but I thought the Auburn guy shoved Moore so far back into the sidelines. I thought that was ridiculous.
Yeah.
I thought, and I'm not taking up for Alabama particularly. I felt like that deal was on Auburn.
Yeah, it definitely was. And Auburn was looking for a fight. You know, you had the Michigan, Ohio State, and I just didn't like Ryan Day's response to that. Did Ryan Day? Is he going to lose his job?
No, he is not. The athletic director has come out and said it has no significance on him, but he's going to be fired now. He is not losing his job.
Does he need to do well? What if he lost in the first round of the playoffs? Playoffs?
I don't think once the AD has said that, I think it's over. I don't think he'll be fired.
All right.
He's only lost one game.
Yeah, I get it, but I mean, like that was. That's why you play the game. I mean, you would think they were a 20-point favorite.
Well, you fire, you got to hire. You know, the only two firing and hirings that really significant. The former coach at Troy got fired at West Virginia. He felt it coming by the words he was speaking prior to the last couple of games. He felt like it was coming for him. And then for Gus to either be let out, wanted to get out. He wanted to get out of anything off the field. So all he wanted to do was sit in the office and coach the offense and look at tape. I think when you hire somebody that's an offensive coordinator, he's got to be a recruiter too. That's what I believe. I mean, my offensive coordinator needs to talk to my recruits about what he's going to do with him as a player. And I think Gus Malzahn's bowing out myself to get less, to do less work and still make money.
What if Jimmy Sexton called Ross Bjork, who's a AD at Ohio State, and said, all right, Nick will take that job. That's the only job he'll take. Would you let Ryan Day go then?
Is who? Oh, Nick? Yeah.
Say, Ryan, son, you're going to have to step aside.
Yeah. I think Nick's enjoying himself.
Nick's coming in.
He's flying everywhere and doing it. Ain't doing nothing.
Yeah, so if Jimmy said, Nick will take that job, and of course Nick would not do that I call him Nick. Coach Saban would not do that to another coach. But if he called Ross Bjork and said, Coach Saban will take that job if it's open, Ryan better start calling 2 men in truck.
Just say, what time can he be here?
Yeah, he better call 2 men in truck because he'll be gone. All right, Cowboy, call us back. I'm sorry, I didn't want to cut you short. We got to get to Doug Bell. We'll find out how Doug did with his picks, and we'll talk a little golf with Doug Bell as well. We want to thank Tuscaloosa Toyota. Go to TuscaloosaToyota.com. You look at all the new inventory, the pre-owned inventory. You can schedule a service. You can rent a Toyota right there at the website, or swing by Skyland Boulevard. I drove my wife's brother has a Tundra, and I drove that thing this weekend. Wow, those things are nice. A lot of bells and whistles on those, so had me thinking, man, I need to get me a Tundra. Justin, put me a Tundra to the side. I might come look at you. It's the Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We've got a hurtin' on Northport freeways right now. Highway 69 southbound at McFarland Boulevard. Do watch out for this crash. It is blocking both the left and center lane, so go ahead and squeeze on over there to the right lane. Single file line, that is. And you got a 10-minute backup to Hunter Creek Road. And then we've also...
North and Northport, just before Carroll's Creek Baptist Church. Sponsored by Edmondson Deer Processing, Tuscaloosa Tractor, Irvin's, Paul's Feed and Seed, and Anders Hardware.
Crimson Tide Today is presented on Tide 100.9, WTBC 1230 by BMW of Tuscaloosa. Online at bmwoftuscaloosa.com.
From the University of Alabama, this is Crimson Tide Today. It's a daily update on Bama sports and it's brought to you by CB&S Bank. Bank anywhere, at any time with CB&S Bank's digital solutions. Managing your finances has never been so easy. Hello again, everybody. I'm Roger Hoover. Head coach Kalen DeBoer met with the media on Saturday following Alabama's 28-14 win over Auburn in the Iron Bowl.
Proud of the guys today, staff and everyone just putting a good week of work in, and I could really feel it Tuesday morning. I thought it was a great practice, and I told the guys downstairs, that was something that felt and got us off to a pretty good start. Wednesday was the same thing, and it led to a day where we're out there and playing hard and doing our thing, and just proud of the resiliency at times that we have, whether it's week to week, even within a game, but our focus, I think, was on the right things all week long, focusing on this game, focusing on what we could control.
I'll have more in a moment.
CB&S Bank has a long history of stability and a legacy of serving our community's needs for generations. You could say we know a thing or two about tradition. We've been family, community, and financially strong since we began in 1906. Being a team player is part of our culture. That's why at CB&S Bank, we're proud to sponsor the University of Alabama Athletics and prouder to take the field or court with you. Visit cbsbank.com today. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Join us tonight for Crimson Tide Rewind, presented by the Alabama Department of Public Health, live at 6 p.m. Central from Baumhauer's Victory Grill in Vestavia Hills. Crimson Tide Today is brought to you by CB&S Bank. Crimson Tide Today is a production of the Crimson Tide Sports Network from Learfield.
Inside the Locker Room with Wimp and Barry on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, we'll get right up to the Yellowwood Hotline. He is play-by-play with PGA Tour Live, CBS Sports headquarter. I think he's a professional handicapper as well, Chase. The one, the only, Doug Bell. Good morning, Doug. How are you?
Hey, Barry. Hey, Coach. Yeah, professional handicapper. I like that, Barry.
You like that?
I like that a lot. Yeah. I don't know if it's true, but I like it.
There you go. All right, Dad, what you got for Doug this morning?
Well, anything on the golf, I think I called Doug. I think I called him at a bad time because he was kind of ill when I talked to him. I got some kind of thing on the internet that the girl that did the CBS thing had died.
Mm-hmm.
Not true. I don't know where it came out, but there's a long article about it. How bad Jack Nicklaus hated about her dying, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd call Doug, but he didn't seem very interested in talking, so I got away from him quick.
Yeah, no, I got that, Coach. And when you called me, it kind of shocked me because I had not read that. But then I did a little research, and that was just one of those erroneous articles. Okay. But hey, this week, by the way, guys, Thursday through Sunday is Tiger's tournament in the Bahamas, the Hero World Challenge. He invites 20 of his best friends, which includes Justin Thomas, by the way, who just had a little baby. Nick Dunlap is playing in it for the first time, and that was a big invite for Nick. I was trying to interview him this week, and his agent, Nick now goes through his agent, and Nick doesn't do interviews anymore. So anyway, Scotty Scheffler's playing. Tiger is not playing. He usually plays in his own tournament, but, he had back surgery a month ago to kind of clean up scar tissue from that major surgery he had years ago, and so he's not playing, but he'll be there. But anyway, this is a good tournament, guys. It kind of gets dwarfed by championship Saturday in college football in the National Football League. But again, 20 guys, no cut. Scotty Scheffler is the odds-on favorite, plus 225. Justin Thomas is plus 1,000. Nick Dunlap plus 2,800. If you're gambling on that, but it's fun. It's kind of the last. It is the last event. I mean, we're going to have the Made for TV Challenge, the Live guys against the PGA Tour. That's coming up here, I think, next week. That'll be on Turner Television. But all in all, this is kind of the last little tournament before we take a break for Christmas, and then obviously the PGA Tour returns for the new season in Hawaii, in Maui, and Nick Dunlap, for example, going to Maui for the first time. Yeah. I'm going there, yeah, Coach. I get to work that again this year, the first two tournaments, so I'm excited about that, and that'll be a fun. It's things have changed. It's tougher. They've cut down the. Now it won't affect the first tournament because you have to have won in the last 2 years or made the Tour Championship to qualify for the Century in Maui. But then heading out in 2025, there's no longer going to be 156 player fields. They're going to be reduced to 144, and then the tournaments that were 144 are going to be reduced to 120, and then there'll be only one spot available on Monday qualifiers. It's going to be harder to get into these events in 2025 and in the future. So a lot of these so-called journeyman golfers who are outside the top 125 right now, they're going to have it very difficult to find places to play here in the immediate future in the PGA Tour.
Since you become a football genius, according to Barry, then you made the comment that Alabama would be in the playoffs. Your feelings now?
Well, again, Barry, I think you were getting ready to go to a basketball tournament last week, and your dad and I talked about it a long time, and Coach Howell had talked about it on the show too. And Coach, I still believe Alabama's going to get in. Okay. When I was on with you guys at the beginning of the year, I said there's going to be 4 Big Ten, there's going to be 4 SEC, 1 Big 12, 1 ACC, Notre Dame if they're good enough, and then for some reason they have the non-Power 5 champ, which is going to come down to UNLV, Boise State.
Barry, now you picked all 12?
I think that was my formula at the beginning, and I think it's going to play out like that this Sunday when the show comes on at 11 o'clock our time. I think the 4 Big Ten teams are a foregone conclusion, and we'll get into that here in a minute. And I think the SEC, you're going to have a 4th team, which I believe is going to be Alabama, and I think South Carolina is going to scream at the high, hey, we're the hottest 9-3 team in the country, but Alabama beat them.
Doug.
Yeah.
Have you studied this thing?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So tomorrow. Yeah. And they may be. So you're saying tomorrow Alabama will be ranked ahead of Miami?
Barry,
if they're not, then it's over.
No, it's not over.
Yes, it is.
Not over till,
yes, it is.
It's not over till Sunday at 11 a.m.
No, it's over for Alabama if Miami's, because they're not, both of them aren't playing, and there's nothing that can happen with disarray to jumble it up after this weekend, other than SMU knocking out Clemson. If Clemson beats SMU, is SMU in?
Well, no. I think the ACC gets their champion in, and that's it. I think so. SMU's got to win.
So you're saying Miami's not going to be ranked ahead of Alabama tomorrow?
No, Miami's not getting in.
Okay.
And they blew their opportunity by losing to Syracuse. Bracketology today, I don't know if you guys saw it. The guy, it's kind of like basketball. He does the football thing.
He's got
he had Alabama playing at Notre Dame in the opening round, which, would ABC and ESPN be hoping for that scenario? Absolutely. The ratings for Alabama and Notre Dame in the opening round of the playoffs would be the highest game of the season on ABC, ESPN. And if you don't think that plays a factor, then you're not being real. I think politically, I think the TV networks somehow infiltrate that room and that committee. And listen, at the beginning of the year, the committee already said they don't go by computers. They look at certain numbers here and there, but It's just they're going to pick the 12 best.
So bear down not being real.
I think Alabama's going to be in, guys. I think they will be a 9-3 team. The only thing that messes that up is if Clemson upsets SMU, and then all of a sudden you're going to have all sorts of people barking and this and that.
If you say SMU is going to fall out, then it won't matter. But I don't believe that. If SMU loses, depends on what they're ranked tomorrow. If they're like 8, are they going to go from 8 to out if they lose? I don't know.
I believe so. I believe so. And, again, they say strength of schedule doesn't mean anything, but then again, they're throwing out on all the football games the other day. They were throwing out South Carolina has the 15th toughest schedule. Alabama has the 16th toughest schedule, which is much higher than any of those other 9-3s. And Alabama beat South Carolina. So I don't know. In my opinion, you're still going to have 4 SECs in, and it's going to be either Alabama or South Carolina. And I think you're going to have Alabama in there. I think you will have a 3-loss team in the playoffs.
Well, I don't think there's a debate between Alabama and South Carolina. I think Alabama's going to go over South Carolina. When you look at their wins, and then you just can't. Although South Carolina's probably better than Alabama, you can't get away from that head-to-head.
Precisely, yeah.
Now,
even though
are you telling me Miami is not going to be ranked because of their strength of schedule?
Exactly. Okay. I think Miami blew their opportunity losing to Syracuse and not getting into the ACC championship. I mean, I think Miami had to win out to get in. That's my feeling.
You might be right.
You may be. But it boils down to, but if Miami's ahead of Alabama tomorrow, it is over. I just want you to know that.
Well, and over. So you don't think between tomorrow night and Sunday at 11 that you could have jostling of
I don't
the
see
rankings?
how you could jump Alabama over Miami after Tuesday if you rank Miami ahead of them, because they're not going to play. So there's nothing. They're not playing. So you can't. You're not going to put them over them. I mean, what is Alabama going to have a better practice week this week? You're going to put them over because of practice?
Well, no, that's fair. Okay, that's fair. That's a fair argument, and listen, I'll give you credit for that. But all right, I just think Alabama is going to be in position tomorrow to be the last team in the 12-team playoff.
Because your Big 12 does nothing because the winner's the only one getting in.
You're getting one, right?
Yeah, both SEC teams in the championship are already in. Both Big Ten teams are already in. And the ACC, if SMU is out, the loser of that game's out, then it's pretty much only one spot left. And Alabama would get it if they were ranked ahead of Miami. So,
yeah, and there's a whole bunch of 9-3 teams. I know Lane Kiffin did his spiel.
He got no leg to stand on.
And Brett Bielema at Illinois kind of answered him. Illinois is also 9-3. There's quite a few 9-3 teams, and good for all these teams that go 9-3. And the Big 12's got 9-3. I think BYU wound up 9-3. But the bottom line is, the panache that Alabama brings to the table. And we talked about it last week, and Coach Howell brought it up too. I just think the eyeballs that Alabama would bring to a game potentially at Notre Dame. When I saw that, I said, "Oh my goodness, you don't think the TV people are trying to line that up ASAP?"
Yeah.
It would be to kick off the new 12-team playoff, to have in the opening round Alabama at Notre Dame in South Bend. My goodness, that would be. And I think that would be a heck of a game, too, because Notre Dame seemingly is one of the hottest teams in the country right now.
Yeah, your bracketology, of course, it's assuming Texas wins. You got Oregon 1, Texas 2, SMU 3. Huh? Yeah, they got SMU 3 and Boise State 4. In the first round, you got Ohio State at home against Tennessee. Georgia at home versus Indiana, Notre Dame at home versus Alabama, and Penn State at home versus Arizona State. So there you go.
How good is that?
Yeah.
How good is that? I mean, I think Georgia would get the break there in those games you just mentioned, hosting Indiana, but even still, that would those would be some pretty intriguing matchups.
But how about the winner of Penn State, Arizona State gets to play Boise in the quarterfinals? Pretty nice there, too.
Boise tough.
Yeah.
Boise?
Well, yeah, they're tough. I guess you had to throw a bone to the non-Power 5 highest ranked champion, right?
Yeah, here's one thing I don't like, Doug. Georgia, Indiana winner plays Texas. So Georgia and Texas would play 3 times. Does anybody want to see that?
No, because I think Georgia is going to go under that scenario. I think Georgia would be 3-0 against Texas.
Well,
I wouldn't want to see.
Well, that wouldn't happen. That wouldn't happen. If Georgia wins Saturday, they would have they would be the one with the bye.
Okay. Okay. There you go.
All right.
Yeah. All right.
All right. All right.
I like it though. I mean, I listen. That's what you want when they said, "Well, hey, we're going to have 12, and ultimately we're going to have 16 in a couple of years." This is what you want. You want chaos. You want debate. But the bottom line is, and it's just like the FCS playoffs for years. Good teams always get left out. Always. There's always an argument. But the bottom line is, you got to get name recognition in there. I mean, in Alabama, my goodness, if they can get Alabama in, that's what the committee wants. That's what the TV networks want.
So a team that got beat by Vanderbilt and Oklahoma, who's 1-7, is going to get in.
According to Doug.
Well, I mean, again, you got to look at who they beat. They beat Georgia. They beat South Carolina. They shut out Missouri. Missouri's still a top 25 team and a 9-3 team. So they wore out LSU. I mean, LSU's a 4-loss team, but yeah, there's some good wins on that resume. Yeah, bad losses, there's no question. But you look at all the 9-3 teams, and they got bad losses.
Yeah, you're starting to convince me, Doug. If they're ranked ahead of Miami, then I think
I can't wait till tomorrow night. Yeah,
I think they're going to make backdoor in. All right, let's look at your picks from last week. You were 22 and 15-2 for the year. I'm going to start from the bottom up because it'll be better for you if I do it that way. Georgia Tech, you said take the Ramblin' Wreck plus 19.5. That was an easy one, Doug. You had that one in the bag. So W for Doug. Let's ching that up. All right. South Carolina and Clemson. You said take the Gamecocks. You didn't even need the points. Another victory for Doug. 8-0. And then Lane Kiffin. Don't ever bet Lane Kiffin. You said take Ole Miss minus 26.5 versus Mississippi State. Chase, that score was 26-14.
Yeah.
So that would be a loss. Yeah. So that runs your record, Doug. This is a pretty good record, Doug. 24-16-2.
Boy, you are a genius, Doug.
Are you going to pick games this week, Doug?
I got 4 this week, guys. Are you kidding me?
4? You're getting greedy.
I got the Saturday games. Yeah.
I won't have it. One pick. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's 7-6, Doug.
I know, and coaches had a good year too. So the Blue Plates
good year, 7-6.
Well, I'm trying to be positive.
Okay, all right. Where are you going this week, Doug?
Let's start with the Big 12. Iowa State, Arizona State, Sun Devils 2.5-point favorites. Iowa State, by the way, I didn't realize this is the first time in their history they've had a 10-win season. That's remarkable to me. Of course, they were bad for a long time. They had a great year. Arizona State guys, and we talked a lot about them on this show. Kenny Dillingham, what a great job! 34-year-old head coach. They ran up 646 yards of offense against Arizona, 24 first downs. Their offense is moving it, man. I just think they're going to keep it going. Iowa State's had a good year. They're not as dynamic as Arizona State. I think Arizona State wins the Big 12. Picked to finish last before the season began. First year in the Big 12. And they're now going to be the Big 12 champions. I think they easily cover that 2.5.
All right, so take Arizona minus the 2.5. I heard he got a $200,000 bonus and gave it away. Gave it to his staff or somebody there.
Yeah, gave it to the staff because they were all underpaid, obviously, by today's standards. But, yeah, good for him. Yeah. Now the ACC guys, Clemson, SMU. Dabo is 8-1 all time in the ACC championship game. Pretty good. He's had some pretty good teams over the years, no doubt about that. SMU 8-0, only undefeated team in the ACC, and the first time, by the way, they've ever had a 10-game winning streak in their history. Which I was thinking back, when they had Eric Dickerson and those guys, but they never reeled off 10 in a row. SMU's offense is pretty good, guys. They scored more than 30 points in 7 of their last 8 games, and I think that offense just keeps it going. Clemson is Clemson. We saw it. They made some mistakes there late in the game. I like SMU to keep their great season going, and I think they covered the 2.5 against Dabo's Tigers.
All right, so take SMU minus 2. I disagree with you, though. I do think if SMU loses, they're 11-1. I don't think the committee's going to kick them out. I think that might be a problem. So if you're an Alabama fan, you better pull for the Mustangs. All right. All right.
Yeah, and I think they will win. SEC championship. Of course, we have the rematch. Georgia, Texas. Kirby, by the way, the Bulldogs, in essence, a home game, right? They're 1-2 in their last 3 SEC championship games. Obviously, the 2 losses to Alabama. Texas, by the way, in that embarrassing loss at home to Georgia, they had 28 yards rushing. 28. I mean, they simply couldn't run the football. I mean, is it suddenly going to be a reversal of fortune? I don't think so. I think Georgia wins again against Texas, and Texas is favored in the game by 3. So I like Georgia getting points. In essence, a home game in the SEC championship.
All right. I think Georgia plus the 2.5 games at 2 o'clock on 3 o'clock. I'm sorry, 3 o'clock on ABC. Pretty good. Say, all right, you going 4 this week, Doug?
Well, I might as well pick the Big Ten game. That'll be the last one after we watch the SEC championship. That'll be the late game on Penn State, Oregon. I kept thinking, like everybody else, it was going to be Ohio State, Oregon. Oregon is undefeated. James Franklin, listen, since he's been at Penn State, he only has 1 win in all the years he's been at Penn State now over a top 5 ranked team. Pretty amazing when you think about that, how his team stumbles in the big games. But in this scenario, and I said it on your show many, many weeks ago, guys, I don't think we're going to have an undefeated team heading into the playoffs. I think Penn State upsets Oregon in the Big Ten championship game. I just like the way Penn State's playing. And, again, their only loss was that close loss where they kind of fumbled and bumbled against Ohio State.
What's the line on that?
3.5.
Oregon's 3.5-point favorite?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going with Penn State. So those are my 4 guys to wrap up what should be, really talk about turnarounds, right? I mean, last season, if you remember, Barry and Coach, we don't want to bring back bad memories, but it wasn't a great year for me.
You were slightly. You were awful last year, but you have gotten off the mat this year, Doug. You have. I think Chase has helped you.
Well, Chase is a good guy. I like Chase a lot. We have fun talking every Monday morning. You guys took my flag last year and put it right on my logo in the middle of the field. And you guys should have done that.
But the difference between you and Ohio State is you took it like a man. You didn't fight. You knew you did bad, and you had opportunity to fight when you were picking the games. It wasn't time to fight after. So
that's right.
I have more respect for you than I do Brian Day, who tried to justify the fighting.
Yeah.
So.
I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, we bounce back. You got to. Hey, listen. As a great coach, Bear Bryant used to always say, you got to win with class and you got to lose with class, and that's what I've done the last 2 years with you guys.
All right, Doug, tell everybody about MD Wellness and Aesthetic before we let you go.
Absolutely. Susan is back in business today. In fact, it's a busy week for her at MD Wellness and Aesthetics. 205-582-9216. Was closed last week because of Thanksgiving, but now a lot of people coming in today and Friday. That's when they do a lot of the procedures. But she will answer the phone. It's a free consultation. And the best thing about MD Wellness and Aesthetics right now, I mean, we're just, 3 weeks from Christmas, is the gift certificates. Go online, mdwellnessandaesthetics.com. And if you're busy for the holidays, get a gift certificate, stocking stuffer, et cetera, for the man or the woman in your life. And then you can talk to Susan later. Hey, I have $100. I have $200. Now I want to sit down and talk about skin care, hair care, weight loss, et cetera. So give her a call. Again, MD Wellness and Aesthetics, 205-582-9216.
Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug. All right, guys. Talk to you next week.
All right, now let's tell them about Bryant Bank before we get to break.
Locations in Birmingham and Tuscaloosa and throughout the state of Alabama, Columbiana. has a great location and one down in Gulf Shores. If you're looking for a bank, it's going to be your homegrown bank, your home-owned bank, and a bank that you can bank online around the clock. And Bryant Bank is your bank. They'll do a great job whether you have a personal or business account, but you have both. And they'll be darn sure that your money is protected. Bryant Bank will be a bank that you can go in. You'll know the banker. You'll know the people that work with him. And they will do anything they possibly can to satisfy you. So go by Bryant Bank and tell them you heard inside the locker room.
All right, open the phone lines 205-342-9904. I see you've got Joe holding. We'll get to Joe when we get back. This is Tide 100.9. It's the home of Alabama sports.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We've got a hurtin' on Northport freeways right now. Highway 69 southbound at McFarland Boulevard. Do watch out for this crash. It is blocking both the left and center lane, so go ahead and squeeze on over there to the right lane. Single file line, that is. And you got a 10-minute backup to Hunter Creek Road. And then we've also got
the Tinsel Trail. For more information, visit ttowntinsel.com. I can't wait. Santa, can you?
Ho, ho, ho. Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
Mostly sunny today, the high 49. Another freeze tonight, clear with the low at 26. Tomorrow, sunny and cold, the high 44. Then for Wednesday, increasingly cloudy, a chance of light rain Wednesday night, the high Wednesday at 53. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9. It's 32 degrees in Tuscaloosa.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Welcome back to Inside the Locker Room. All right, go right up to the Yellowwood hotline. We'll get Joe in. Good morning, Joe.
Morning, Will, Barry.
Hey, Joe.
Look, there's one thing nobody's talking about right now, and they will later. The second round is going to have two awful football games. They're going to be blowouts. So this first round, they got to juice this thing up. And, you know, Miami and SMU can't even sell out their home stadiums. Do you see SMU's crowd? I thought sure they could fill that little stadium.
No, they really can't. You're right there.
I mean, money is the driving thing. And look, Saban said it last week with McAfee. He said, Power Super Conference, 40 teams, similar to the NFL. Get your Big Ten, your SEC, and you add 8 teams. All right? Now think about that. Add 8 teams, and look at that top 25 right now. You can't get 8 teams out of those two conferences, not in those two conferences left. It's just not enough quality out there, and everything is equal now. You saw where Humphreys left Kirby yesterday. He started 10 straight games. He didn't get to start against UMass, and then he didn't get to play much against Georgia Tech. And he entered the transfer portal yesterday. He's quitting him right now. He's already gone. So, I mean, that's just the way it is now. Everything has changed, everything. But, Barry, you agree? You don't see Miami and SMU both getting in, do you?
As I've looked at Miami's, they don't have any good wins. Other than you got the quarterback that people want to watch. But so if Alabama's are ranked ahead of them, whoever's ranked ahead of each other on that, the other one's out. So you think the committee's going to have Alabama ahead of Miami tomorrow?
Yeah. They better. If they want to keep another committee for another year, or the Big Ten and the SEC will tell them to go to the house.
If that happens and SMU wins, then Bama's going to be in going to Notre Dame. I think people are right about that.
Yeah. The first round's going to have your best game. The second round is going to have 2 awful football games.
Well, Alabama and Notre Dame winner taking on SMU, and the Penn State, Arizona State winner taking on Boise. Is that what you're meaning?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Well, it's a bad format, Joe. Who put this format
exactly.
together? And
you got to change it. And, of course, ESPN, just have to go in and take the thing over, I guess.
I think you may be right. Miami ain't gonna draw flies. Last game, Alabama got a great chance to be ahead of them. More I think about it, I guess.
And the nation's gonna scream when that happens, Joe.
That's right.
You got it.
So thank you, sir.
You got it. Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, back to the Yellowwood Hotline. Get Cowboy in. Good morning, Cowboy.
Hey, Coach, you said Miami wouldn't draw flies. Well, heck, after that crap turd they did on Saturday, they might draw some flies around it.
Yeah.
They don't draw many people. They didn't draw many people when they had Jimmy Johnson down there. They did for a while.
Yeah. SMU has sold out their last 4 or 5 home games through their ticket office. Then there's been some on the secondary market. But that stadium seats about 36,000 now with that addition down there. But I don't think Dabo can learn how to stop that Gus Bus offense in a week. They got a quarterback that's just like Nick Marshall in 2013, a running back like Trey Mason was that transferred from Miami, and they got a receiver kind of like Sammy Coates. And that thing, they just run it high octane, and their defense is pretty good. And I don't believe Dabo can beat them. But then again, I don't think Alabama deserves to be in the playoff either. This thing's a joke. I mean, they don't need to be 12-team playoff, maybe 8.
Yeah.
Well,
you start looking at it now this year. Of course, if they took the top 12, then it would be different. But when you start having to put these conference champions in and give them buys, it screws it all up, Cowboy. And it doesn't make for very good matchups, to be quite honest with you.
Cowboy, you going to the bowl game? If Alabama's in a bowl game, you going to that?
No, I wouldn't go if they were, back in the old days. I've been to enough bowl games. I don't care to go to any more bowl games, not unless it's meaningful. But Barry, you and Coach, why does the Alabama fan base have the mentality that they're owed a spot in these playoffs no matter what? Can y'all explain that? I mean, I'm an Alabama alumni, but I don't think we're owed stuff like.
I don't know if they do that much this year.
I think Alabama fans are kind of disgusted. I hadn't heard one person say that we deserve to be in.
Well, I've been getting them calling me the last day since it kind of became obvious, and I don't really want to talk about it because I'm just kind of disappointed with the season after what I saw up there at Oklahoma that night. I just, if Hugh Freeze had any gut, we gave him, 4 turnovers the other day, and he couldn't capitalize? I mean, what kind of coaching was he doing?
He had his best running back throw an interception.
And then he blamed him for not throwing it back to the quarterback.
Well, yeah, come on. He's bad about pointing the finger. He don't ever point it at himself, though.
Yeah. Man, I was hoping we could got that basketball game Saturday night. That old big guy from Australia, he just threw that one back in on us. And then Sears brought it down the floor. Maybe he should have shot the ball instead of passing it off. What do y'all think? Did y'all see it?
Yeah. It's just like that's too many turnovers. You got to stop turning the ball over. You scored enough points to win. When you turn the ball over that much, you're not getting a shot. So I think this Reitzel injury could be – they need another guard. So hopefully Youngblood – I may have to take one of the red shirts off one of these guys because –
Well, the kid from Auburn will start.
Well, you thought they had – well, he's just two little guards there. So I don't like 6'10" 3 men. I don't know. I like guys that can handle the ball. And so I don't know, Cowboys. It's kind of a messed up roster a little bit now if Reitzel goes down. Now, Youngblood, maybe he's a good ball handler, but they
now, where's Youngblood from, son?
He came from South Florida. He was co-player of the year in that league.
Oh, he's a Tuscaloosa native, right?
Well, he was born here. But
what's his size, son?
I think he's 6'4", probably.
He's a point guard?
He's a real strong. No, he's a shooting guard. Real strong. Got a
but he
body
hasn't played any much?
He hasn't played at all because of an injury. But they say he may play against North Carolina. So
We'll hey, Barry, doesn't Wrightsville always get hurt though? Gone for a week or 2 weeks?
Yeah, but I don't want to speculate. But this, he was holding that Achilles. So if it's Achilles, then that's it. Now, hopefully that's not the case. I think they know. I'm sure they'll announce it today. So whatever it is. So
I thought that tournament was fun to watch. TNT, they did a good job. I think they're.
I like their announcers.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Makes it feel like the NCAA tournament, sort of. So
right. That's what I thought. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we'll see how things shake out.
All right. Thank you, Cowboy.
Thanks.
All right. Sorry, Cowboy. Call us back tomorrow. All right. That's it for today's show. We'll get out of here. We'll slide out of the way. We'll make way for the Gary Harris Show. So keep it locked in here all day long. This is the Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. It's the home of Alabama sports. Have a great day, everybody.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Monday edition of The Game, we'll do the Daniel Moore good moments of the game. Alabama and Auburn. Hopefully we're recapping a victory for the Alabama Crimson Tide. We'll start at 2 p.m. We'll talk to Drew DeArmond. We'll talk to Barrett Sallee. And we'll talk to Martin Houston right here on The Game. Tuscaloosa's longest running sports show on Tide 100.9, 1230 WTBC. Your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. We've got a hurtin' on Northport freeways right now. Highway 69 southbound at McFarland Boulevard. Do watch out for this crash. It is blocking both the left and center lane, so go ahead and squeeze on over there to the right lane. Single file line, that is. And you got a 10-minute backup to Hunter Creek Road. And then we've also got...
Also take care of any problems you got with a damp crawl space or a crack in your foundation. They even do pest control and lawn care. Full service Alabama Professional Services at alabamaprofessional.com.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Steve DeSager.
Sunday night in the snow, the Buffalo Bills won their 7th straight game, 35-10 over San Francisco. 49ers star running back Christian McCaffrey limped off in the first half with a PCL ligament knee injury. It could be season-ending. Philadelphia won its 8th straight game, 24-19 at Baltimore. Tampa Bay in overtime was a winner at Carolina, 26-23. And the Rams, down at halftime 6-0, wound up winning at New Orleans 21-14. Among the earlier games, Pittsburgh was a 44-38 winner at Cincinnati. Russell Wilson, 414 yards passing and 3 scores. In the NBA, Cleveland ended Boston's 7-game winning streak, 115-111. Memphis won its 6th in a row. Orlando won its 6th straight.